What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Listography. I'm Ryan, and it is time for my staff picks of the week. First off, I'd like to say that I was really looking forward to the new Charlie XCX album. I'm a big fan of hers. She just put out an album that is done entirely in quarantine, about quarantine, but I can't put it on this recommendation video because I just didn't really like it. I respect it. I really admire it. I'm glad she did it, but I just don't think that years down the road we're gonna really revere it as one of her great albums once the COVID-19 crisis kind of passes and it's out of our mind. I don't think there's a whole lot to really hold on to with this, and it just doesn't really sound that good, and the songs aren't really that memorable. But props to her for making it. First album I'm going to talk about is Pure X by Pure X. I stumbled upon this band recently because of this release. I did not know about the rest of their catalog, which is pretty sizable. So I really like this album. I don't have any background on them, so I'm going in fresh here. I really dig it. It's got a really nice kind of new psychedelic shoegaze sound to it. Kind of sounds like a band called Paper Cuts that have been around for about 10 or 12 years. The album has this really nice dire escapism, and again has that really nice shoegaze sound. Tons of sustained, distant guitar, vibes and pedal work. But I do think this stands out because it's got a lot more gristle. It doesn't have that incredibly tubular guitar sound to it. It's got more grit. It's kind of dirty sounding, which adds a nice sort of contrast to sort of the dream pop elements that it's got going on. It's sort of like a modern blue-collar album. It basically entices finding the beauty in kind of the haze of everyday life, and that really speaks to me. Check out the songs Hollywood and Man with No Head just to get your feet wet with Pure X by Pure X. My next staff pick is going to be by an artist called Man Man with Dream Hunting in the Valley of the In-Between. If you're not familiar with Man Man, I will do my best to kind of describe what they sound like. They're from Philadelphia. Their past work is kind of this really rapid scream of consciousness, unpredictable circus of music. I think throughout their discography they've used maybe every instrument ever created and possibly even built some themselves. Their music is all over the place in a good way. The newer stuff is a little bit more reined in, a little bit more traditionally crafted. And that said, I am recommending this album, but I want to transfer and get my friend Amanda involved because she is a massive Man Man fan, and she's going to tell you what's so great about Hunting in the Valley of the In-Between.
Hey, my name is Amanda. I just want to start off by saying that they've been my favorite band for over 10 years, maybe 11 years now. And I think that this album is probably my favorite one that they've come out with. It's definitely the most musically cohesive album that they've made in terms of songwriting and composition in comparison to their whole discography. It has a really beautiful narrative quality to it. It starts off with a gorgeous instrumental track and ends with like a really haunting instrumental track. What I really love about this band is that they have their own unique sound that I can never fit into a category when I try to describe them to my friends to listen to them, because I want everyone to listen to this band. Each of their albums has its own unique sound, and this is definitely one of them. They've had albums that have crazy circus music and synth pop and rockabilly vibes, and this album definitely went with a more poppy route to it, but it's still amazing, and I think that is what really contributes to how well produced it is. Yeah, I would say my favorite track on this album is probably going to be Powder My Wig, because it's extremely humorous. It has a really interesting string breakdown in it, kind of like classical vibes, and I've never really heard them do that before. And I feel like they're really pushing boundaries that they haven't pushed before with this album specifically, and in this song specifically. They have another song in this album, I can't remember which one it is, but it has something about Satan 69ing and in like a Oklahoma hotel. And yeah, I think that they really utilize humor as a way to artistically express themselves, and it really takes me back to feeling like I'm seeing them live. Like I feel like a sense of audience participation when I'm listening to this album. And I think it really encapsulates what Man Man is. And I think it's a really great way to introduce people to this band and to get them into this album and their past albums. So yeah, check it out. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite ones.
Thanks, Amanda. Finally on my list is Harkin by Harkin, and I do believe we now have an Album of the Year advisory. We're on Album of the Year watch with me for Harkin by Harkin. If you don't know this, this is Katie Harkin. She has been the last decade, really the last 5 or 6 years, just like a utility woman for the indie rock scene. She has collaborated and played and toured with Slater Kinney, Courtney Barnett, Kurt Vile, among others. And this is her debut solo effort. She was in a band called Skylarkin, who I'm not familiar with, but we'll probably check out now that I've really gotten into this album. So this is an indie rock, indie pop album. I think where a lot of this genre is right now is kind of that dreamy aspect with the nature of studio engineering and computer work that's done on most stuff right now. It's definitely not old school raw rock or anything like that. The whole album is really this nice, tight, feverish, tense, purposeful album. It's got a really nice, wistful, misty quality to it. It's kind of like a light thunderstorm, but her voice is really sharp and pretty, coming in like a ray of light breaking through the clouds. The guitar work is really noticeable here. A lot of really nice punctuation and accents at times. There's a lot of really good lead work at times in some of the more radio-friendly tracks. And one thing that I really liked about this album, I was loving it the whole way through, and I was starting to criticize it a little bit in my head, and just as I thought that the rhythms and the tempo were getting a bit monotonous, that, boom, it changes up and kind of takes a different turn. The bass on this is really captivating. It's this deep, saturating, vibrating sound, gels really well with the drums. The lyrics are direct, sincere, honest, to the point, sparse. I think the music does a lot of the talking. You know, she is significantly singing on this album. It's not a pop album as far as the lyrics go. When she wants to make her point, she kind of just does this hypnotic repetition of what she wants to say. So overall, I think this album is really great from start to finish. There's some nice, energetic stuff, danceable stuff, more groovy stuff, and then it has a really nice kind of elusive ending to it with just vocals and guitar. I really loved this. Check out Nothing the Night Can't Change and Sun, Stay With Me. I can't wait to hear what she has in store next. This is an Album of the Year candidate so far for 2020, Harkin by Harkin. Thanks again, I'm Kramzer with Listography. Those were my staff picks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on Listography.